The general form equation of a circle is derived by expanding the squared binomials from standard form, moving all of the terms to the left side of the equation and making the right side equal to 0. The terms are then ordered alphabetically, squared terms coming first, then the linear terms, and finally the constant value at the end. To convert from general form to the more useful standard form, we need our leading coefficient to be 1. If the coefficient of x squared is a number besides 1, divide all of the terms by this number. Then arrange the terms so that the x terms are together and the y terms as well. Move the constants to the other side of the equal sign and complete the square as needed for both x and y. Factor the left and simplify the right. Converting requires us to use a process called completing the square. This is a skill you learned in Algebra 1, which allows us to create a perfect square trinomial, which can be factored into two matching binomial factors. Let's review it now. Given the expression x squared plus 4x plus 7 equals 0, we want to keep the x squared and x terms together on one side of the equation and move the constant to the other side. This allows us to add our choice of constant to the end of the expression to create a perfect square trinomial. In order to find that number, we'll take half of the b value and square it. We'll then add that constant to both sides of the equation to create a perfect square trinomial on the left that can be factored into two matching binomial factors. After we factor the expression on the left, our goal is to write it as a quantity squared. Let's try another one. We're going to keep our y squared and y term together, moving the constant to the other side of the equation. After that, we're going to leave a space for the perfect square that we choose to add to both sides of the equation. The next part of the process is a little bit tricky, so I have a shortcut for you to keep in mind. It's half it, drop it, square it, and add it. I'll show you how it works. First, you take half of the b value, that's the coefficient of y. You go ahead and drop it into the parentheses. This is going to give you the binomial factor that you're looking for. Square it and add 3 squared to both sides of the equation. Combine like terms on the right and you're done. Now we're ready for number 8. We want to move the x terms together and keep the y term on the left as well, moving the constant to the other side of the equation. We'll write the x squared and x term together, and we'll leave a space to complete the square for that group. We'll then bring down our y squared term, but we won't have to complete the square for that one because it doesn't have a linear term, or a b term. Looking at the b term for our x family, we'll take half of it, drop it into parentheses, square that number, and add it to both sides of the equation. If your b value is negative, your sign in the parentheses will be negative, and if it's positive, the sign in the parentheses will be positive. The perfect square that you add to both sides of the equation will always have a positive value. Bring down your y squared term and combine like terms on the right to complete the equation. Now we can identify the center of the circle by the h and k values. Also, r squared is 9. The center of the circle is 4, 0, and the radius is 3. Let's try it again. Move your x squared and x terms together, move your y squared and y terms together, and add the 3 to the other side of the equation. Write down your terms and leave a space to complete the square for both the x and y families. Don't forget that both numbers you add to the left will also have to be added to the right-hand side of the equation. Now we'll complete the square for the x terms by taking half of 4, dropping it into the parentheses with a plus, squaring it, and adding it to both sides of the equation. We'll do the same thing for the y terms, taking half of -6, dropping it into the parentheses with a minus, squaring the quantity and the number 3, and adding 9 to both sides. Finally, combine like terms on the right to get 16. The center of the circle is -2, 3. R squared is 16, so the radius is 4. Remember that you want the coefficient of x squared to be 1. In this problem, the leading coefficient is 2, so we'll divide each term by 2. Then we'll rearrange the equation so that the x terms are together and the y terms are together and the constant is on the other side of the equation. We'll leave a space to complete the square for both the x and y families. For the x's, we'll take half of 8, drop it into parentheses with a minus sign, square 4, and add it to both sides. For the y's, we'll take half of 2, drop it into the parentheses, square it, and add 1 to both sides. Then we'll combine like terms on the right to complete the equation. The center of the circle is 4, negative 1, and the radius is radical 7. To convert from standard to general form, we're going to expand x minus 4 quantity squared by using the FOIL or double distributing method. We'll write out x minus 4 times x minus 4 and multiply it out to get x squared minus 8x plus 16. We'll do the same thing with y plus 3 quantity squared. Write it out. Don't forget, you can't just distribute an exponent into a binomial. A common mistake the students make is just writing down y squared plus 9. It's important that you write out the two factors and double distribute it to get y squared plus 6x plus 9. After we bring down the 36, we're going to order our terms. We want them to be in power order and alphabetical order, so x squared will come first and then y squared. Next, we'll put negative 8x and then plus 6y. Finally, we'll combine 16 and 9 and bring down the 36. Finally, the right side of the equation must equal 0, so we'll subtract 36 to get x squared plus y squared minus 8x plus 6y minus 11 equals 0. Now you're ready to practice on pages 18 and 19 of your packet. Good luck!